All right, welcome to Model Building Start to Finish. This is John sitting with Dan, and we're looking at our 40-foot boxcar. What are we going to do with it this time, Dan?
It's time to make it ready to roll on the track. One of the reasons I don't want to use the stock coupler boxes is because they're designed to be just a press fit into this hole.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, and I really like stuff that I can screw on and remove later. So I'm going to use Katy coupler boxes. Unfortunately, that means that the screw hole is not quite in the right place. So I'm going to have to drill a new hole just like slightly ahead of where this one is. And then the coupler box will mount here. It'll stick out about as much as the stock coupler box would.
Yeah.
And then because I don't want the couplers to stick out too much, I'm going to use Katy 153s, which are a whisker coupler with a scale head and a slightly shorter shank than the normal ones.
All right.
So these are pretty easy to put together. You just stick the coupler in the box and then put the lid on it. And it's just a snap fit. There. The nice thing is, you know, if you need to take the coupler out for any reason, you can just unsnap the lid.
Yeah. Did you just wedge a little flathead screwdriver under it, or?
Yeah, you could get a little screwdriver like this and just pop it off.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah. So it's always hard to drill a hole right next to another hole, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm using a 1/16 drill bit. I'm just going to drill right here. Now I'm going to use a 256 tap to put threads in the hole.
Would it really mess up the hole if you just screwed the screw into it?
Well, you could strip it out.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, it's really easy to strip threads out of plastic, so you got to be careful.
Seems like you even have to be careful tapping it.
Yeah. Well, in fact, I will probably glue this part of the coupler box to the car floor. As long as the lid can come off, the coupler box doesn't really need to come off.
Oh, okay.
The real thing about the screw is not so much to keep the coupler box from falling off, but is to transfer the force of the train into the car body. Because otherwise, if it's just glued, it can actually be pulled off if there's enough force on the train.
Sure, yeah, because the glue bond is not as strong as a screw.
Right. So now we can just screw this onto here. Now I'm going to put this on temporarily because the coupler may end up being too high. We'll have to see.
Oh, after you put your trucks on there?
Right. So we'll have to test it. And we may need to shim it, but we won't know that till we check it. So the kit came with screws to mount the trucks. However, they're like a wood screw. They're not like a machine screw.
Yeah.
And the trouble with those is sometimes this plastic gets brittle and it can actually split it. So
that's a great design.
Yeah. So instead, I'm going to tap these for a 256 screw also, and I think that'll hold up a little better.
Hey, I'm really surprised by sort of the non-attention to detail with things like that.
Well,
I mean, why would you give someone a way to put together a model that is likely to damage it?
Well, it doesn't always happen. It's just, you never know how long this kit's been sitting around.
Right. I mean, they must know that, though, right? I mean...
Yeah, you'd think.
Yeah.
But I just know after having built about 20 cars like this recently, it's just better to do this.
Yeah.
All right, so now I'm going to screw the trucks on. And again, another 256 screw.
You're probably the largest consumer of 256 screws in the country.
Well, I've bought a lot of them lately.
The people who make them probably think you're some kind of machine shop or something.
Yeah. Okay. It's a little early for this, but one of the things I try to do is to fix the car to have a 3-point suspension. Not too worried about it at this stage because there's still adjustments to be made. We'll check the coupler height next.
Hey, Dan, we have to take a spike off.
Yeah. Yeah, if this was a review, this car would be getting dinged right now. As you can see, the coupler's a little bit low. I did have to adjust the trip pin slightly too, because it was low also. But
yeah, so we're going to have to shim the truck. Is that what we're going to do?
yeah, I'll have to put a washer between the truck and the car. And both ends are kind of about the same. Sometimes when I built these cars, the couplers actually end up being too high. And in that case, a lot of times in this type of situation, I'll actually shim the coupler box down.
Yeah.
But in this case, we need to, raise the car a little bit. So Katie makes washers for this purpose, and they make them in two different thicknesses. There's a red one and a gray one. The red ones are slightly thicker. So I'm going to try one of those first.
Do you know what that reminds me of? We have these little washers that we put inside of the garden hose. They're much thicker and much bigger than that, but it's the same color and everything.
Huh. Interesting.
So you talked about the 3-point suspension before.
Right.
This might be a good time to sort of mention what that is and why you do it.
Yeah, what you want is you want one of the trucks to swivel side to side, but you don't want it to rock. And you achieve that by just the tightness of the screw usually. That keeps the car from wobbling. The other truck, you do want it to rock and swivel, because that way if it goes over uneven track, that truck can accommodate the unevenness.
There we go.
If both trucks are rigid, then the car might derail if the track isn't perfect.
Right.
But if both trucks are loose, then the car will wobble back and forth as it goes down the track, and that doesn't look very good.
It's looking pretty good, Dan.
Yeah, I think that's got it. I put a red washer on both trucks, and that seems to have gotten the coupler height where it needs to be. If it was wrong, I'd have to do this again. If it was too high, I'd try the gray washer since that's a little lower. If it was too low, I might try 2 gray washers, because it's like 2 grays are slightly thicker than 1 red one. And then, it's almost like poker chips or something, So, I mean, but anyway, you just keep messing with the combinations until you find what is working.
It's just fiddling with it until it's right.
Right. So now that I know that the coupler boxes don't need to be moved, I'm going to glue them to the car body floor.
Is this that same liquid styrene cement?
Yeah. The coupler boxes are styrene, basically, and so is the car body, so it should make a nice bond. But you just want to be careful. I don't want to get any up here because I don't want to glue the lid on. That way, if I need to change the coupler ever, I can just take the screw out, pop the lid off, and put a new coupler in it.
Yeah, it sounds pretty easy. It's almost like a modular... Well, it is. It's a modular piece, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Especially once you get the coupler box stuck on there.
The reason I like to glue it as opposed to just use the screw is because sometimes if the screw gets loose, the coupler box can turn.
Oh, right.
And the glue keeps it from spinning around and things like that.
Yeah.
So the next part of making the car operational is to add some weight. There's different ways to do that. And one decision that's important to make right now is whether or not you want the doors open. This particular kit has doors you can glue on either in the open or closed position. Now I'm going to put mine on in the closed position, but if you wanted to put them on in the open position, you'd probably have to figure something else out for the weight. It's a little easier if the car's all closed up and you can't see what's inside it.
Yeah. I think I'd be inclined to leave them in the closed position for 2 reasons. 1, because it's easier to conceal the weight, and 2, because how often do you really see a boxcar rolling down the tracks with the doors open?
Sometimes you do. I think in the old days you used to see it more often, maybe. So
I couldn't think of the last time I've seen that on a contemporary, train. So
yeah, the other thing you'd want to do is if you were going to leave the doors open, you'd probably want to weather the floor and the inside, maybe even paint it a different color. So you might want to do some little bit of extra work in there. I'm not going to do that to this car. I'm just going to leave it like it is. But what I have here are some peel and stick weights, and these are in 1/4 ounce increments. And this makes it really easy to add weight. Now, this car is 5.5 inches long, and currently it weighs about 1.5 ounces. Now I realize when you put the roof and other parts on, it's going to weigh a little bit more than that, but probably not too much because it's all plastic. So according to the NMRA, a car that's 5.5 inches long should weigh about 3.75 ounces. So that means I need to add about 2.25 ounces to bring this car up to snuff. And I might even add slightly more than that because I like my cars to be slightly on the heavy side. I think they track better.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah. So this is pretty simple. You just cut off as much as you want and then just peel off the backing and stick it in the car. So that's what I'm going to do. So I've put in one strip of weights on the floor, and then I stuck in 2 more weights right in the middle. And I put them on the floor because I want to keep the center of gravity as low as possible so it's not top heavy.
Yeah, it might tip over if you're going about 180 scale miles an hour.
Yeah. And I put the second set in the middle just because I like it to be balanced so that the car is not heavier on one end than the other.
Couldn't you have put those one each over the wheel sets or something?
Yeah, you could do that too.
Yeah.
I just thought it was easier to put them in the middle and I have to cut them apart.
Oh, you're being lazy.
Yeah, basically. But, it works. And so now the car weighs just under 4 ounces. So probably by the time you get all the other parts on it, it'll be about 4 ounces, which is pretty good. I think that's a pretty good weight for this car.
You want it to be just a little bit overweight, right?
Yeah, I like
that
better. I think it stays on the track better and handles better in the train. Yeah.
If you make it really heavy, it'll stay on the track almost no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? You're just pushing down on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't have that much weight, but yeah. All right. So at this point, the car's rolling. It's weighted. It's got its couplers at the proper height, and it's pretty much ready to roll, other than, of course, being cosmetically finished.
Right.
So I think this is a good stopping point for this week, and we'll pick it up next week and start doing some detailing.
All right. Then we'll catch everybody next time on Model Building Start to Finish. Thanks for watching.